What is going on, Guardians? Ember here with another one for you. Today, I have quite possibly what might be the most versatile build I've ever made. You can truly take this almost anywhere. We're gonna be using Conditional Finality. That's right, we got it to drop. Anyway, before we get to it, head down below this video, absolutely obliterate that like and subscribe button. I absolutely appreciate any and all support that I get. Don't forget to stick around at the end of the video for an original meme. And without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, Guardians, so we finally got Conditional Finality to drop. Yes, we needed it. I got it to drop just before this last reset, so we have one full week left in the season. I'm so happy we got that to happen, and it brings together a fantastic combination of all kinds of things in the game that will help us to take this build I have here currently anywhere. There's no place you can go where this build will not be successful. You can have varying degrees of success with other builds that are more successful than this in certain areas, but this is something you can take anywhere in the game and feel comfortable and confident. The overall build is actually going to be the same build from my Ecliptic Distaff video. I'll go ahead and link that up at the top of the screen right now, but we'll go over what makes this build special. We won't go totally all the way in depth with it. If you want to have that in-depth talk, go ahead and check out that other video. But anyway, so the main thing is here, you will notice we actually have every single element in the game right now currently in this subclass. So we do have Strand with our subclass. We do have Conditional Finality, which is stasis and solar. You have to remember that it is stasis for the first shot and solar for the second shot. We have our Ikilos SMG, which is arc, and the retrofit escapade machine gun that is void. So we have every element on lockdown. No shields are going to impede us. Not that it really impedes us since they reverted the shield match game in the Grandmaster Nightfalls. But anyway, so let's talk about what makes this special here. Mainly Necrotic Grip paired with our Arcane Needle in our subclass. So that's going to allow us to spread a poison debuff to all the enemies as well as unravel them. And it'll kind of just continuously unravel them. We are using the Shackle Grenade, and we're using that with the Mind Spun Invocation particularly. We're going to consume our Shackle Grenade. It's going to activate Weaver's Trance, and any final blow, doesn't matter if it's from Strand or anything like that, that's going to suspend all the enemies around that final blow. It'll create a detonation, lifting them all up in the air. And so I'll go ahead and just briefly show you everything else that we have going on here, and then we'll move on to the rest of it. Perfect. And so let's talk about champions, because we do have any shield that we could possibly want, any way to break shields, all the elements together. Let's talk about how we can use these to stun any champion in the game with this build. Any champion, it does not matter. So, working from the bottom up with Retrofit Escapade. This is a void heavy machine gun. With the artifact, we have the Volatile Flow. Picking up an Orb of Power grants your void weapons volatile rounds, and that's how we're stunning barrier champions. We're using volatile weapon rounds to stun our barrier champions. The Ikilos SMG has Volt Shot, and it also has a artifact mod here for Overload SMGs. Either way, we're going to be able to stun Overload combatants with that, because we can't jolt them, so that we'll be able to stun them, but we do just have Overload SMG. That helps with really just the consistency of being able to stun them over and over and over again. You kind of get multiple chances here, and you'll see that in the background. Then we do have Conditional Finality, and this one is special here. We can shatter unstoppable champions. It's essentially intrinsic, even though it doesn't say it stuns unstoppable champions. If you can get the freeze off with that and then hit them with the ignition shot, or just really any other damage after that, it shatters them. They will become stunned. Conditional Finality also works as a panic button for you. If you have an overload champion just running right at you, you can pull this thing out and you can freeze them, get your wits about you, reset, and reload, go back out there and make it happen for yourselves. I don't want to spend too much time in here. Let's get to some of that gameplay. I'm going to show off some of this mod customization, and let's talk about why this is so incredible. Alright, so let's talk about some of these weapons, when we want to use them, what situations work best with them. So we have our Ikelos SMG with Volt Shot. Obviously, we're all familiar with it. It does really, really great work with all kinds of ad clearing. So any of our red bars, any of the just giant mobs of enemies coming right after us, we're able to quickly take care of them and really get moving through any of those obstacles that we have there. And so you see in the background here, we are doing the Thrilladrome Legend Lost sector here on Neomuna. It's one of the most fun Legend Lost sectors, in my opinion, to do. And the Retrofit Escapade machine gun works wonders, especially when you get those orbs to drop and you can get your volatile rounds with it. Really, you can also use it as ad clear as well. If there are just tons and tons of enemies, you kind of saw that right up there. We're able to clear huge waves and take care of our barrier champion as well. That's always very important. This Lost Sector does not have unstoppable champions in it, but that's alright. Honestly, I kind of prefer it for this specific gameplay anyway, because it is really the easiest champion to stun, since you can just pull out your shotgun, first shot, instantly stunned. They're going to not be able to really handle it, and you can take them out real quick. So without really focusing on that too much, it's important to kind of see in the background here, we're still able to deal with those overload champions and those barrier champions pretty easily. But what you can do with Conditional Finality still is you can use it to burst down champions. Getting those 2 shots off and then pulling out the heavy, that helps to save on that heavy ammo. It's so important to keep as much of that as you can while you're running through all this. It's kind of your best lifeline, especially since there's no other way that we have right now in this build to stun our barrier champions. Alright, and check this out right here. When we can get our Orb of Power to spawn from whatever it is we're doing, whether we're getting a melee kill, spawning our Orb of Power with one of those arcane needles, and we get our volatile rounds on the Retrofit Escapade, we can use it to shred down our barrier champions. We're still spreading the unraveling effect around and the volatile effect around, and we're just getting kills while we're reloading. It's actually incredibly powerful. Now let's talk about why this is one of the most incredibly synergistic team builds in the game. You can take the Conditional Finality and essentially completely immobilize champions, and some bosses even. Also, spreading any of the poison effect from the necrotic grips, unraveling, jolt effects, you're helping your teammates out essentially around the corner. You don't even have to be shooting at those enemies. If they get tagged even once by one of the arcane needles, they are getting poisoned and they're being unraveled. If you get a chain lightning that can manage to get through, some cracks in a doorway or something like that, your teammates will feel the support there. One thing that I do want to talk about, because maybe you don't have a Retrofit Escapade, it's one of the machine guns from the Season of the Seraph last season. Maybe Xur hasn't sold a good one, you don't have it, you never got one to roll, or you haven't crafted it yet. You can actually switch your subclass to Void, run a Void subclass, and then go and do the group activity on Neomuna for a circular logic. You can get one of those with, I believe, target lock on it as well. I'm not sure of the other perks you can get. I know it can get things like Feeding Frenzy, for example. I have one with that on it. And instead of using Retrofit to get volatile rounds, you'll use circular logic to get unraveling rounds. That will also break through the barrier champion's shields. And depending on how easy it is to get volatile rounds next season, that might just be the best way to go about it anyway, because we'll be able to actually get the unraveling rounds a lot easier, because you really can't get them without the artifact perk right now. Plus, you'll be able to get suppression effects, which will help with the overload champions as well. And now that I finally do have Conditional Finality, I'll be looking to create some builds with it. Let me know in the comments section down below if there's any subclass pairing you'd like to see. I'm probably leaning more towards Solar or Stasis just because of the synergies it has there naturally, but if you have some absolutely cracked ways to exploit it, please let me know and I will go ahead and make a video on that in your honor. But I really can't stress enough, Conditional Finality is absolutely insane. If you haven't gotten a chance to get one of those yet, be doing Ron. Go out there, get some LFGs going, do any of the triumphs that you can do. They give you a little bit extra drop chance, and it's well worth it. Well worth your time. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw that meme up on the screen. If you did stick around all the way to the end, I really do appreciate that support. If you did find yourself enjoying this video and you like any of the other content on my channel here, don't be afraid to slap that like button and give me a subscribe. I really do appreciate any support I can get from my fellow Guardians. Thank you again, Guardians, for stopping by. I am Ember, and until next time, be without form, swift as lightning.